Two times. Two. Damn thing worked. First time, loaded right up. So who's on if you can talk? Why is that so loud? Okay, I need my paint. Painted that one. That one doesn't have a head. Damn, that's thick paint. Tired of people not showing up. Oh, you finally got here. Why haven't you said anything? I asked you to say something earlier. Your computer's always a problem. Yeah, if only we could get Effie to show up. But I'll ask you, what do you think? Should I move it from Saturday to Sunday on the third show of the week, which would make it the first show of the week from now on? I just think Sunday'd be a better night than Saturday, even though we do get a lot of people coming in on Saturday. Well, I also came up with a reason for mechs in this universe. It's because of the giants. It's not like giants are going to fit in the small ship's cockpit, so instead they just put on spacesuits and go out into space and shoot at people. Figured that would be a good enough excuse for bringing in mechs because the dwarves are going to be wanting to counter the giants since giants and dwarves get along. Why is that doing that? Also, since you missed Tuesday night's show, I should show you this. It's the Firecat. It didn't print right, so I think I got the printer fixed this time. I really hope so because I want to do all the hero ships. Yeah, I just noticed something because the guy here that I'm watching on YouTube has mentioned it. Do you notice that there's no longer any mystical horror? they're all now humans and aliens. Well, if you look at the last few years of movies, there really isn't any more horror monsters. I mean, we get the average werewolf once in a while and maybe a vampire or two, but it's kind of gone by the wayside. I mean, okay, Jason and Freddy both had very magical origins. Michael Myers was always just a human who was really hard to kill and kept coming back. But for most part, we have Aliens, which is the only sci-fi only sci-fi horror franchise that we're not turning the monster into a hero. I mean, they are definitely doing that with the Predator movies, which makes sense because honestly, the Predators were never really bad guys or anything. They were just magical. I mean, strong, super strong hunters that humans were a good target. And then you have, but you don't have that mystical end anymore. I mean, I think the last mystical one was the return of um, uh, Final Destination. And the truth is, that's just that death is. It's like they forgot how to write about monsters. I mean, the only vampire and werewolf stories are all a whole bunch of bullshit romance movies. I want vampires that are going to kill something, you know? Vampires are supposed to be vicious monsters that attack and kill people. That's just the way it is. Why the hell do we have a sparkly vampire over here who is really into this girl? I mean, you realize that the last big time thing that had vampires in it all the time that was actually horror and kind of scary was Buffy? Yeah, a sparkling child molester. Let's face it, that's exactly what he was. He was over 100 years old, and yet he's going after a 16-year-old girl. That makes him a sparkling child molester. Yeah, they pushed it as a romance, Allison. Most romance isn't romance. Most of it's porn. That's one that I should have as a prove me wrong. Change the sign that most romance is actually porn in disguise. Way back in the ladies, they actually had a really good idea of what romance was on Saturday Night Live. Finally, the male character in it, gets sick of the girls fighting over him when all they were doing was making him clean their boots and stuff like that. And he finally said that, you know what, let's stop all this and just have three-way sex. Well, you know what? I agree with that. And that trend we've been seeing on uh, Pocket FM. Why are there so many werewolf stories that are the girl is basically being owned by all of the alpha members of the group? And she is an omega. She's not even a freaking gamma. Whoever it was doesn't seem to make the realization that the alpha female in a pack is more powerful than the alpha male. So they're choosing an omega girl as their mate, and that means that the pack is going to collapse because you're choosing a weak person to be your mate. Yeah, that's how nature works. If she was an alpha female, she wouldn't be so upset that she's getting handed off to a whole group of alpha males. At least the only vampire story I've found, well, the three vampire stories I found on there, one of them is definitely porn. But my vampire system is action adventure through and through. And I actually kind of like that one, even though the part that I'm in now, it's like, dude, will you just give this guy a happy ending already? You already put him through hell, and now you're going to put him through even more hell? I know you get paid more because of you have a bigger story, but still. Hell, I don't even mind it if it is a form of of slavery, as long as it's S&M and everybody's consenting. I mean, I have absolutely no problem with that, as long as everybody involved is consenting. Unfortunately, in most of these stories, oh no, she wants to get away from it. Yeah, sure, whatever, honey. You don't really want to get away from it. I mean, I'm sure she makes the realization of how freaking powerful she is. I like the mated to my bully stories as long as they actually have it that it's years later and this person is trying to atone for the shit that they did when they were younger. No, I want to keep that brush from getting torn up. But yeah, it's just one of the things that I've noticed about horror movies. I mean, we don't really have the mystical monster horror anymore. We have mystical monster porno, overly romanced porn that isn't actually romance. It's abuse stories people are trying to pass off as romance. Of course, I think the real abuse that's involved with that story with Twilight is the audience is being abused by being forced to watch that shit. You know, they're always talking about rebooting Harry Potter, which I don't mind some of the stuff they're going to do with this reboot, but I mean, John Lithgow as Dumbledore, that's questionable, but I could see it. I don't know why they need to Americanize the damn show, but that's what they're going to do. Oh, yeah, that's right. Warner Brothers is an American company that can't get their head out of their ass. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hired Zack Snyder. Of course, Disney's just as guilty of having their heads up their ass because they hired J.J. Abrams to do Star Wars. Okay, it's okay to get a fan of series to do the series because the fan's going to respect the series. Do not hire a fanboy. He will not respect the series. He will do his best to change the series to what he thinks the series should be, which in the case of J.J. Abrams, he wanted to redo the original Star Wars without George Lucas. And we saw how that turned out. Yeah, the prequels may be bad in a lot of ways, but at least they had a cohesive story that wasn't boring and wasn't a rehash of earlier stories. And Disney can't understand why that film series failed. Stop blaming the actors. It was not the actors that were the problem. It was the guy who was running the show. A lot of people want to blame it on the middle movie. No. No. That was the only original story out of the entire damn thing. Yeah, he did what he does best. He deconstructed it and he showed his dislike for the first movie. Even when you're the guy running your second movie thinks that your first movie is that bad. And if anybody wants to blame anybody for that movie being made because they hated it so much, which that's the only one that, like I said, was an original story and was halfway good. The only reason that there were so many people who hate that one is because it was original. It took things in a way that nobody was expecting. But, you know, Abrams should have known that if that he was the one that made the choice to hire that guy for the second movie because he knew they were friends. And he knew what this guy was good at doing it. And that's deconstruction of different things. Honestly, it was funny. Yeah, but the two vampires that were having the romance scenes didn't want to be vampires. They were trying to stop the other vampires from fully turning them. She outright told Michael that she was supposed to eat him. She ate him in a different way, but he was supposed to be her first kill, and she couldn't bring herself to do it. Vampires are supposed to be evil, dark creatures. Don't try to make them into innocent teenage boys that are far from innocent because they're over 100 years old and have killed more people than anything. At least the werewolves in that story were young. Somebody the other day tried to tell me that uh, what's the name of that one? Uh, Underworld, which is based on Vampire the Masquerade, was a horror movie, and it's like, no, it's an action adventure movie, but thanks for trying. Okay, there we go. That's a hippogriff. Say so. Three of the four first ships to be printed are done. I am currently printing the second set of uh, Common Alliance fighters. Yeah, that's also why not Bram Stoker, but the other guy, Clive Barker's vampires actually worked too, was because even though the vampire hunter and the girl got turned at the end of the movie, uh, it was and they were in love with each other. It was because they were still just monsters. They outright know that those people are coming after them, so it's like, yeah, whatever. Oh, we have three people on. Wow, that's unusual for a Thursday. Effie, are you on? Or is it just two other people besides Allison? Well, technically, one of them's me, so. Should I wait until the print's done? Because I got a print that's almost done right now. I'm done painting for today. I'm not planning on painting this bugger until uh, Saturday, because that one's going to be more involved. So did True Blood and the Vampire Diaries. Neither of them really romanticized vampires, and that's actually what made it good. You know, you had your good vampires, and then you had your bad vampires, and both of them were assholes. It's still just teen drama with a bunch of shit going on. To be honest, Sonya Blue and True Blood are almost exactly the same thing, anyways. The only difference is that they didn't name the main character in True Blood Sonya. They never turned the main character in True Blood into a vampire either, Allison. Not a full vampire. She was just a fear. She had the immortality, but she didn't fully turn into a vampire. That was the basis of that story. A show where they actually let the actress who played Rogue actually do her job instead of not letting her do what she was supposed to do and make the character the way the character was supposed to be. So how you doing? How was work? Did you inform them that they should be complaining to um, Donald Trump, not to you? Well, I guess. I know, but every once in a while, you just want to do that. Oh, Jesus. No. No. Okay, I'm going to catch hell for the ass fighter. bring in the Cobra. Yeah, well, people suck. Really want to get in trouble, tell them, well, yeah, those you Northies and everything. It's like calling a Virginian a Westie. I don't get it though. People from South Dakota don't get mad about people being confused with people from North Dakota. They both say Dakota the same way. In fact, the fake accent that everybody always puts towards Canadians actually is from North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. And you always expect them to end sentences with "hey." What you doing there, eh? Maybe we should go have some beers. Yeah, of course. They think they're complete. The people who are not actual active in office Republicans think that the Republicans are completely innocent in everything, even though they're the ones who've been fleecing America since the 1950s. And it's really funny that that's when in the 1960s is when the switch happened. Oh, the Republicans were all of a sudden against equal rights, but the Democratic Party's like, hey, equal rights, dude. A wonderful bit of history right there. My God, this is a dork. Yeah, I'm gonna wait until that print's done and show off the second group of ships, USS ships. Better retrieve that. Also, I was thinking, everybody keeps trying to talk me into doing the capital ships. Everybody who hears what I'm planning, and maybe I could get stuff, make stuff that will allow people to build the ships. Yeah, they claim there was no switch, but there was a switch. They can claim whatever they want to claim, but history dictates differently. See, this is why they need to teach history class. Not because of anything else, but so people will actually notice that things change over time. Also, so you won't repeat the past like we're doing right now. Fucking Trumpler and his bullshit. Yeah, it hasn't paid his employees in over a month and decides, hey, we need to do this stuff over here. We're going to put a golden ballroom in the White House. Okay, the facilities in the White House are fine. You're not going to be there forever. You don't own that building. Leave it the fuck alone. Only Congress can make the decision to do upgrades to the White House, not the presidential family. But of course, Republican Party, which is in control, is going to let him do whatever he wants until the end of next month, at which point the Republican Party will no longer be in control of everything. Democrats will take back a good chunk of everything. Maybe a bunch of the independents will get involved and say, hey, you both suck. We're going to fix the whole fucking thing. Can always hope that's going to happen, right? Yeah, but what a demon. Too bad she's only a half breed. It's mostly because the Democrats and the more moderate Republicans are trying to put a stop to it while they can. And they want to say that the more moderate Republicans, which are more Republican than the maggots, are Democrats, not Republicans, even though they're more like independents. If I was those guys, I'd just drop the party thing altogether and become independents. But trying to win on an independent ticket is almost impossible when you don't have the backing of the party, so you can't get the election money. Nice. Where the hell did these guys get the idea elves were horny? Okay, enough political shit. One ship, two ship, three ship, four ship. Ha 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 ha. Sorry, I had to do it. We must remember the great Count Count. Well, good. Maybe they'll start being less stingy on the video games too. I was getting real sick of not being able to watch the ads to unlock certain shows. I mean, if you're only giving me one episode, why the hell would I watch 4 ads? Seriously, guys. What the hell are you thinking? I know what they're trying to do is trying to get me to slow down on watching, listening to certain shows. But screw that. I like this show. Well, they're not an American-based country. They're based in India. Although an American-based company did buy them out recently, so that's why all the changes have been going on. I use it when I'm writing military because military people have a horrible habit of not saying entire sentences. That's where a lot of our abbreviation shit comes from is the military. You got to be able to communicate fast, so they don't use full words a lot of the time, and they've been doing that since the 1800s. I don't think Intel was used, but they have been doing abbreviations since then. And actually, maybe not in the early 1800s. They started definitely in the U.S. They were doing it after during the Civil War because the abbreviations there was abbreviations for both sides. Made it easier to hide what you were yelling at your troops on the battlefield. Damn it. Well, it meant that they were agreeable people. Yeah, it had a lot to do with compatibility, but it didn't necessarily mean that. More or less, most agreeable would mean that you're going to get along. Hey, there's a wrecked ship. Okay. Here we go again. We are going to prescribe you a drug that will take away the thing that is caused by the drug that you are using in order to not want to kill yourself. That is going to make you want to kill yourself, thereby undoing the drug, the mental health drug that we have given you. No, it meant you had information. It didn't mean you were well read. There were plenty of people who had plenty of information that were not well read people. And I'm guessing they're using the intel in a military sense, which means intelligence, as in what we know about the enemy. Information based around the enemy. And trust me, I know lots of military guys would not call personally intelligent that have a lot of information. Most of them are officers or Marines. 2, so another red ship. Well, at least 2 out of the 4 turned out well. I'm going to have to redo 2 of them, but that's fine. That's not as bad as it could be. At least the Blink Dog turned out well, and the Unicorn turned out well. But we're at 78 minutes, and I usually only run around 60. I think it's time to get the hell off here and call it a night. So I will close off for tonight and then be back on. I do believe I'm going to do it on Sunday. Pass it along to Effie. And have a good night.